Okay, we're live, actually live. Right as I'm getting a good little spot on my leg. Good morning. I'm hoping you guys can hear me all right. Okay, good morning from Bali. I'll give you guys a few minutes. If anybody does show up, just say hi in the comments. And this is my first live, so we're just kind of testing it out. Chantel is currently giving her dog a haircut and doing a good job at it, I will say. That man is looking fresh. And yeah, it is a beautiful morning this morning, Sunday morning here in Bali. We're just kind of getting our day started, and yeah, for us, church happens at 4:00 on Saturday mornings, or sorry, on Sunday mornings. Sorry, 4:00 Sunday afternoons. So we have our Sunday mornings to kind of just do our thing and start the day. I'm going to go to the gym. I think you're going to come to the gym with me. Hey, baby. What is going on with my hat here? And yeah, today is another day where I get to be worshiping God. For those of you that might be popping on here or seeing this later and don't know what this channel is about, I just started this channel. It's pretty brand new, and it's been a fun opportunity for me to kind of do what I'm doing normally, which is I've been on this really life-changing sort of new transition, I guess you would call it. But both my wife and I, myself for sure, in a daily way, I've been just fascinated by the Bible. I've recently come back to my faith in Christ, and that still feels a little weird to say. It still feels not weird, but it still feels. I actually feel very lucky, and I'm very blessed to say that, because that's not been my norm in the last portion of my life, to call myself a Christian or anything like that, or to be going to church on Sundays. So yeah, I wanted to start this channel because I've been reading the Bible. I've been actually just kind of fascinated by the Bible, and wanting to know more about it, especially as an adult. Like, as I've said in my videos, like I grew up in the church, and on paper, by all accounts, grew up as a Christian. But as David says in Psalm 51, he says something like, I know my sin. I think I might actually have that bookmarked. Yeah, Psalm 51. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. So like we are the only ones that really know our true nature of sin, and our life and that sort of thing. And so for me, looking back on my childhood as a Christian, going to church and youth group, I also know who I was, and it's hard for me at this time to look back and call that kid Christian. I definitely went to church. I definitely showed up, and I was even part of the worship team back then, and everything. But the way that I was living was not by any means committed to what it means to truly be a Christian. So all that to say, I'm kind of in this process now in my life where I'm learning what it means to actually walk in faith. I'm learning what it means to actually be a Christian. And by learning what it means, it's kind of like it's easy to know what that means, but actually applying it to your life is a whole different thing. So I started this channel just to kind of invite you guys on that journey. I feel like there's a lot of people right now in the world that are on a similar path as I am, as my wife and I are. My wife is actually discovering her faith for the first time ever, and discovering what it means to be a Christian for the first time ever, which is a really beautiful thing to witness and be a part of. Um, but yeah, I feel like a lot of people are in that same boat, and so the reason for this channel and the hope for this channel is that it can be a place for people to relate to these discussions and these questions that come up when you're first diving in. Because it can be, as I said in my last video, like it can be a little intense when you're new to the faith or actually don't know much about faith, or even in my case, coming back and having been in a church setting before and that sort of thing. I was telling the story of when we first went to church, and I was excited to go. I was kind of back into my faith, and actually had asked Chantel, like, and she was on it with me. I was like, I really want to go to church again. And I remember that first service walking in and feeling like, I'm like, whoa, I don't actually know if I can handle this. It might be too much for me, I don't know if I'm there yet. Um, I feel like a lot of people are sort of like pushed back, like maybe um I think people like myself that are like sort of questioning or on the fence about it or interested in it. I think there's a cat in our roof. Um, they can kind of be dispelled a little bit by the intensity of quote unquote walking into church. And what I mean by that is like there are so many influencers on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that know so much more than I do about the Bible. Um, and they're such good speakers and preachers, and even just these young kids that grow up in southern United States, Bible Belt, and that sort of thing, and they're just obviously grown up around it, and they just know how to speak and know how to pray, and um, they know the stories of the Bible and the theology behind it and what it means. And for me, it's like I don't know all of that stuff. So I hope that plus one can kind of be a bridge for those of you who are kind of in the same boat. You're just sort of inching into it. You're not really sure about it. You have just, oh man, I've just got an absolute flood of puppy hair cruising at me. Come here, Rocco. Okay. I'll show you guys. This is the fresh man. Recently got his haircut. Good job, babe. I'll remind you that you're walking in front of the camera there. Right now? No, right there. Oh, no, all good. You just got to see your bum. But yeah, this is Rocky, and I just got absolutely attacked by all of his fluffy fuzz. You look good, buddy. You look good, man. So yeah, for those of you guys who are new to it, I mean, maybe you guys are even in a place where you're a believer, yet you find it hard to relate to the perfection of some of these pages. And maybe you're looking for a way to kind of connect with Christianity in a really like real world place. That's where I'm at as well. And so that was the point of the channel, is to hopefully be sort of a bridge between questioning or coming to faith um, and all of the people that have been in it for a while that can make it feel a little bit intense, I think. Um, I feel like Instagram is I feel like the world of social media in the first place is kind of oversaturated with perfection. Everything needs to be perfect. Everything is perfect, like from the thumbnails to the way people speak and edit and everything. It's like we're not really seeing a lot of reality and real people speaking. And I feel like when it comes to something as important and as transitionary as coming to your faith, it's really important to do it delicately and not just not just make it another content creator um viral moment or viral video. And I have nothing against the people that are doing it and doing it so well, but like I say, I'm sure that there are a number of you out there that are just wanting to kind of understand a little bit more of it. So what I've been doing is just kind of going through some of the stuff that I've been reading in the Bible and just talking about it a little bit. This last week we've been talking about a place where I've been at, which is just sort of now that I've found my faith and now that I've really committed my life to Jesus in a real way, not just one out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but actually like making that decision. All of a sudden what comes with it is a lot of realization around the way that I've been living, the way that I've been thinking, um, the things that I've done in the past that are not in accordance with the faith that I'm now currently in, um, and how to make sense of that and how to make that right in my mind. Um, and the only way to do that is obviously to bring that life and bring those things to metaphorically the foot of the cross, um, bring them to God and just own up to it. Be accountable to yourself, be accountable to God. Um, One of the points that I made is God is here, he's real, and he's so willing to wash us clean from the version of ourselves that we've been. We don't have to exist as the identity of ourselves that we've been. And there's two people on this planet that have access to the real you. Two people. There's one person on this planet currently that has access to the real you. And then there's God. And that one person is yourself. And I feel like we can get lost a little bit in our reputations, in our identities, and actually start to lose sight of who the real me actually is, especially when we don't have a North Star or a compass kind of pointing us back to, I think, the only place where that answer comes from, and that's from God. Um, the importance of that is like we're never going to be fully fulfilled in this life. Um, we're never going to feel fully content or even happy in this life if we are trying to live out a version of ourselves that isn't consistent with who we really are. Does that make sense? Um, if we continue to try to pretend because we are essentially guarding ourselves from what we're scared of. Let me know if you guys can hear. That's a cicada in the background. They come out seasonally here in Bali, and they make a joyful noise. But yeah, if we're essentially kind of guarding ourselves from the things that we're scared of, which is maybe not being loved or not being accepted, um, feeling uncool like you did in high school, or feeling um, not worthy like you did when you first got dumped, like just these fears that we pick up and these traumas that we pick up through life usually end up becoming the armor that we're wearing later in life because we don't want to feel those feelings again. And these can become versions of ourselves that we aren't actually that aren't actually necessarily us. They're coping mechanisms or safeguards to a way that we don't want to feel. And that's a rough way to live life. Living life protecting ourselves from feeling versus living our lives pursuing feeling more. Um, so when we don't have a place to upload all of that stuff to, um, that bag can get really heavy. And what we've been talking about this week is what it actually means to repent. Again, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a theologian, I'm not studied, I'm new to this. And so I'm walking through it from my own perspective of literally what I'm working through right now. It's like, okay, looking back on my life, looking at some of the ways that I've been, and we're not just talking about um, basic mistakes that we've made, and that sort of thing. Like we're talking about ways of being, we're talking about ways of thinking that aren't necessarily helpful. Um, but it's this process that I'm in right now of just kind of doing a little audit on my life and making sure that the person that I am desiring to be in my life, which is at this point very rooted around this desire to be a man after God's heart, to be a good husband, to be a good friend, um, maybe to be a good father one day. We'll see. Um, am I operating right now in a way that is consistent with that vision of myself? Because I believe that that's actually where it starts. Um, when we think of the person that we are trying to become in this life, it kind of starts right now. It's the way that I explain it is kind of like a spotlight, that there are multiple realities available to us at all times if we think about quantum physics, which I'm still learning how that fits in with Christianity, but I'm sure there will be videos to come on that. But if we think about it, like there are multiple realities available to us, are we pointing ourselves in the direction of the reality that we want to